Hello, everybody, and welcome to our webinar today. It's Wednesday, June 26, 2024, and we're here to talk about boosting loyalty to grow revenue and cultivate customer devotion. If I haven't gotten to meet you in person yet, I am Jill Dvorak, the Chief Content Officer here at CommerceNext, and thank you so much for joining us today. We have a great roundup of retailers that we're going to hear from towards the end of this hour. We have a lovely presentation to start us off. And firstly, before we go any further, I'd love to just thank all of our speakers that are going to be here today. We have Sarah Wallis, she's the Chief Operating Officer of Minted. We have Allison McGuire, who's the Vice President of Marketing at Mart. We have David Anderson, who's the co-founder and Chief Product Officer at Tandym. And unfortunately, you may have seen Matt Gehring promoted in some of our marketing. He had to call out with a family emergency, unfortunately, but is very excited to have us kind of pop in his thoughts here and there as we've obviously done some prep calls. So you'll still get some of his insight today. So thank you so much to Tandym for making this happen. We could not do this webinar without you. I'd love to thank all of the people behind the scenes, Alan, Maeve, Robert, Scott, Veronica, all who make this happen. These webinars are more of an undertaking than, they appear. So thank you to everybody for that. All right. Thank you again for being here. So about every 2 weeks, this one will be in 3 weeks because of the 4th of July holiday, we have webinars here. The next one will be July 17th. And it will be run by Alan Dick. It is here, the exclusive insights revealing retailers' strategies for holiday 2024 Q4 success. So you see some familiar faces up there, I'm sure, Sucharita Kadali, Kamanash Kundu, and Jay Topper. They will all be there with Alan talking through how to get ready for Q4 and what some of the strategies and their insights and some of the research from Forrester. So join us then. If you have missed any of our past events, we now have, I believe it's 450. It might be closer to 500 now, since we just came off our incredible CommerceNext show 2 weeks ago. But there's almost 500 sessions, webinars, keynotes, all sorts of things on our YouTube channel. So if you miss it, this will eventually go up there in a few days. But also, if you're just interested in a past topic, go type in loyalty to our channel or type in retention or AI, and you'll see really kind of the breadth and the depth of all the topics we've covered. So just in case you haven't been to one of our webinars, I'll do a really quick run through of where everything is. On your Big Marker platform, you'll see on the top right, you'll see chat, QA, polls, and handouts. We do have one handout today. It's a PDF. It's going to be virtually identical to what David will be presenting. So that is interesting, please download that. You can take it and share it with someone else at your company and just have it for reference. You'll be able to download that if you're watching on replay as well at the bottom of your screen. In chat, please talk to all the people engaging there right now. Where are you from? Where are you calling in from? And what are you hoping to learn today? The next tab over, there are some poll questions we'll have. Those will pop up on your screen automatically, and you can select an answer or two depending on how many the question requires. And I went through handouts, so I think we're all set there. Finally, if you don't have your own question, but you'd like to upvote someone else's question that you think is a great idea, please do that. We incorporate those to our retail panel towards the end, and we want to make sure everyone gets questions answered. This is really, as we view it, as we explain it to our partners, this is a focus group of incredible retail and tech executives. It's free. Please use it to ask the questions that you might be interested in for your team, for yourself, for your company. But this is a resource for you and education, really hopefully shaped by you. So let us know what questions you have, and we'll get to those in the retail panel section. All right. I think, So if you're watching this on replay, right down there in that little red box, that's where you'll see the PDF, which is David's slides. So next up, I'm going to bring David on camera, and David is going to run through his slides today. He is not only the co-founder, but chief product officer. So David, if you don't mind, maybe start off with your intro. I know you have something really exciting to kind of give away to the crew watching, but then feel free to take it away and I'll pop back on when you're done.
Awesome. Thank you, Jill. And good afternoon to everybody who's joined. Excited to spend the next little bit here talking about a topic that's very near and dear to me, which is loyalty. I'll give my quick background. We won't spend too much time here, but as Jill mentioned, I'm the co-founder and chief product officer at Tandym. Before Tandym, I spent almost 15 years at Capital One, which is pretty much a lifetime, it feels like, ago. A lot of that time was actually spent in private label and co-brand credit cards. So had the great fortune of managing a bunch of programs for really big retailers like Kohl's, Bass Pro, Cabela's, Neiman Marcus, fairly long list. So got a chance to see firsthand how these programs work. Got to work with some of the best retailers in the business who have just amazing programs. And a lot of that has really informed the thesis behind Tandym and how we think about loyalty and payments, and obviously the solution that we're bringing to market. When I'm not actually working, I'm chasing around my 2-year-old, wishing I was playing more golf. Mike, one of my team members, gave me a bunch of crap for holding the fish closer to the camera. That's a really good technique for anyone who's out there on the water. Makes the fish look a lot bigger. So anyways, let's jump into the meat of it. Let's get to the fun stuff. So I don't think it's a secret. Some of the best retailers in the country have leveraged branded payments as the centerpiece of their retention and loyalty strategy for decades. Couple of examples there on the right-hand side. Why do they do this? There's a couple of reasons. So number one, putting a little bit of friction behind your loyalty program is actually a very sophisticated way of letting customers self-select and basically driving segmentation for those who are going to be most motivated by rewards. So it's valuable to have a bit of a doorway that customers can walk through and say, hey, I'm willing to take an extra step to take advantage of whatever the best offer is at a given brand. Obviously, a lot of these programs, they all have much lower processing fees for the brands that offer them. And so the brand itself is getting that P&L benefit of cheaper processing fees when the customers opt into that program, which helps subsidize the cost of rewards. So that's a really big component of these branded payment programs. Creating the different tiers, one of which is that payment method, allows the retailer to separate rewards better across customer segments. So if I've got a customer who said, look, I want to take the branded payment method, it's easier to load that tier up with more perks, more benefits, both from a earned perspective as well as an experiential perspective. We're going to talk quite a bit today about the experience part of this, because that's a really key piece that I think can sometimes get missed in loyalty programs. But at the end of the day, the branded payment method just serves as, again, that doorway for a brand's best customers to walk through, to self-identify, and for the brand then to be able to say, I'm going to reward you, best customer, with the best experience that I have to offer. And again, the P&L leverage that gets created by these programs is pretty incredible. For example, with Tandym, our processing fee is 1% relative to standard credit card and debit card processing, which can be as high as 3% plus. So that provides a good segue to just share a little bit about Tandym. So we are the branded payments platform or branded payments wallet for modern brands. I mentioned some of my background at Capital One. A lot of that informs how we go to market and the solutions that we offer. I felt like there was a real opportunity to bring this enterprise-grade tool that every large retailer has in their toolkit to brands that aren't quite at that multi-billion-dollar stage yet in their journey. So when a brand launches with Tandym, we unlock a suite of products that are all branded as the merchant. So we have a revolving line of credit product. We have a pay by bank or debit product. We have a gift card product that's actually launching in Q3. And customers who adopt those products now have a new touch point with our brand partners. So it's a branded wallet that, again, when the customer shops using that wallet on our brand partner sites, the brand is getting that processing cost savings. They're also getting incredible uplift on the revenue side through the virtue of this stickier relationship with the customer that, again, is all predicated on that branded payment relationship. So what makes a good loyalty program? We have a couple of ways we think about this at Tandym. And again, I spent a long time working with some of the blue chip retailers to learn how they thought about this question. And I think that informs a lot of sort of what we bring to the table as we work with our brand partners. So number one, and this may seem a little counterintuitive, but I think there really does need to be some friction to encourage customer self-selection. If a loyalty program just sits behind an email sign up, it's really a discount program in a lot of senses. I think adding a little bit of friction so customers are self-selecting is a really sophisticated way to think about how do I want to segment the rewards that I offer through my loyalty program. Number two, creating some clear separation in the value offered at different tiers or different points in the loyalty journey. Doesn't always just have to be points or dollars back. I think experience is a really key piece of this as well. And that can be very specific to a brand. For example, we have a brand on our platform. They actually, the reward that they offer is a donation to a cause that their customers care most about. So there's a lot of ways to get sophisticated here, and it can be very bespoke brand by brand, but making sure that there's clear separation, I think, is a really key piece to drive that customer desire to engage and interact with the program. A new account incentive is a really important way to drive adoption. I think these are quite common across the ecosystem, so probably don't need to spend a whole lot of time there. The experience piece here, or non-financial incentive, the classic example that I still love to use is with airline cards. When you carry the airline card, you get to board in group 1 or group 2. The airline needs everyone to get on the plane before it can go, so they don't care what order people get on the plane. But from a customer perspective, the marginal value or utility associated with getting on the plane first is just massive, right? So finding those parts of your business where you can offer something to the customer that has a high perceived value, but perhaps a lower marginal cost, is a great way to add an incentive to a loyalty program and drive a desire to get to that next tier or to adopt the program in the first place. And then the last piece here, and I think this is the thing that the big retailers just do incredibly well, is consistent messaging across the customer journey. If anyone has shopped at Kohl's, they have the best in class penetration rate with their loyalty program. It's well over 50% of total revenue that goes onto that program. You cannot walk out of a Kohl's store without getting offered a Kohl's card at least 2 or 3 times. In fact, I think sometimes they have associates like follow you to your car in the parking lot. Consistent messaging is really key across the customer journey. So I thought it might be helpful to just take a look at 3 examples to sort of illustrate what I was describing with that checklist, to talk about what makes a good loyalty program in practice. So we'll take it from the abstract and we'll try and make it a little more concrete here. So I mentioned Kohl's. I had the fortune of getting really close to this program during my time at Capital One. They've got what we call a split offering. So the Kohl's reward program, anyone can join that program. You get 5% back in rewards, and you get a couple of perks by virtue of signing up. Now, when you get a Kohl's card, suddenly there's a whole ecosystem of benefits that gets unlocked for you. Number one, you're going to earn more rewards with every purchase that you make on a Kohl's card. So there's a clear separation of value there. 2, you get anniversary gifts, you get exclusive savings and offers, and then this MVC, or most valued customer status, is really the sort of the prize here for the Kohl's shopper, where once you achieve that status, there's a whole bevy of perks that comes along with it. So it's giving the customer an aspirational target or goal. And if you're a heavy Kohl's shopper, that's a very valuable thing as well, because again, it comes with quite a great deal of benefits and rewards. So best in class sort of framework here from really one of the leaders in branded payments as we think about it. Another model that we like quite a bit, and we think about quite a bit at Tandym here, is one like Nordstrom. And so we call this a tiered model. So there's different tiers across the loyalty program. there's a pretty long list of experiential perks that comes as part of the program. So everything from alterations to personal double points days. These are all things that as you graduate through the program, you unlock with more spend. Now, for the branded payment component here, card members get to skip the line. So they start immediately at influencer, and they get some extra perks that are just truly valued by the Nordstrom shopper. I think the big one here is early access to the anniversary sale. It's a famous Nordstrom event. That early access is highly valued by the shopper. And again, it sort of goes back to that airline example I was using. Nordstrom doesn't mind if it's a card member that shops the sale or a non-card member. So eventually everyone's going to get access to the sale. But if they're able to give that early access to their best, most valuable customers, it's a great perk, a great incentive. Maybe your size wouldn't be available if you had to wait for the general public, so to speak. So they do a great job of differentiating rewards across the whole program. And finally, I'll end with what I call Gen 1 loyalty in D2C e-commerce. I think at this point, it's not an exaggeration to say I've met with hundreds of e-commerce brands. And I think over the last 6 to 7 years, there's been heavy adoption of a number of different software tools that are sort of a loyalty program in a box. And that's not to say that they're bad at all, but as I think about the programs I saw that were most successful in my time at Capital One that sort of leverage branded payments as a part of loyalty, there's just a couple of things that I think end up missing the mark. So number one, and I've blurred the name here to protect the innocent, but this is quite common across brands that I get a chance to meet with. The friction to adopt is very minimal. So it's just an email address and you unlock the entire ecosystem of rewards. So widely available, but in effect, it ends up becoming more of a discount program because again, there's not that segmentation, that rewards motivation piece that we talked about earlier. Number two, the earn rates here are quite high. So it's roughly 11% at that silver tier, 10% if you just enter your email address, and it works its way all the way up to 13%. I challenge anyone on the webinar today to go find a quote unquote legacy retailer, one of those blue chip retailers that's offering that much in rewards redemption to customers, particularly customers that are not adopting a branded payment method. I've done the work, I've done the homework, and you will not be able to find one. So I think that misses the mark a little bit, just in terms of they're giving away too much margin at the end of the day. And then the last piece here is there's not a whole lot from an experiential standpoint. There's a few things around engagement on Instagram or Facebook, but even some things that are simple from a D2C context. So for example, an extended return window or free shipping for a lower dollar value. Those things don't show up here. And I think that that's an opportunity as folks think about perhaps their own loyalty program and where they're looking to make changes or invest. So I'll wrap up the slides here because I'm excited to get to the panel piece of this conversation with just a little mini case study for what this looks like when it comes to life at Tandym. So everything we do starts with the customer. We partner, and don't feel like you need to try and parse out the actual numbers. This is really just meant to be a visual aid, but every brand that we partner with, the first thing that we do is we take a look at their customer data, and we have some machine learning tools that we've built to create some bespoke customer segmentation across their customer file. And this helps us unpack how many customers at the brand are truly champions. So they're spending frequently, they're coming back with a pretty fast turnaround time, versus how many are dormant, how many maybe are people who could potentially become champions or become loyalists. And we find that when we meet with brands, they have some intuitive understanding of this, but they don't actually have the customer level. This customer is A, this customer is segment B, and this customer is segment C. And so we like to start with this because it provides a great backdrop around which we can design a program. We work with tender neutral programs. We plug into the Yapos and the Smiles of the world. We also are a standalone loyalty solution for brands that maybe don't want or don't have a tender neutral solution in place. But this helps us get to a very targeted recommendation on what a program design could or should look like. Once we launch the program, and this is the thing that I love talking about. If someone were to give me another 30 minutes on the webinar, I could spend all day on this topic of incrementality. It's funny, like a lot of the brands that we talk to at Tandym, they have a loyalty program today. And one of the first questions we like to ask is, how is that program performing? Is it delivering value for you? Is it meeting an ROI target? And I can probably count on one hand the number of times a brand has been able to say like, oh yeah, I've done the math, like the ROI is X, or, I'm really satisfied because of reason Y. I think the simple fact is it's hard to do this analysis. It's hard to do this incrementality analysis, especially at scale. We have built some tools that allow us to do that for the brands that we work with. And we're making some of those tools available to attendees today for free. But the point here is you've got to drill down to the customer level, and you've got to take a look at, when I executed a strategy, what was a customer's behavior before I did that and after I did that? That will give you the true measure of, did the strategy drive the impact that I wanted it to drive? It's not enough just to look at customers who adopted a loyalty program versus customers who didn't, because there's a selection bias thing that's going on there. You're confusing causation with correlation. And so we like to get down to the customer level and actually say, look, David spent $100 on his orders before he adopted, the program. And after he adopted the program, his order values went up to $125. He ended up shopping more frequently. The time between orders was reduced. These are all KPIs, or the indicators that we look to say, is the program driving the intended outcome? So if you take one thing away from these slides today, I hope it's the notion of incrementality is really the true success measure as it relates to whether or not your program is driving the impact that you want it to drive. And so that sort of leads me to the end of the slide portion here. But we've spent a lot of time, both with big brands in my prior life at Capital One, as well as with the brands that we work with at Tandym, building some pretty sophisticated tools around customer segmentation and the ability to assess the impact of different strategies, whether it be loyalty, retail footprint. There's a whole range of things that we can do with that tool. And we're happy to make that available at no cost to folks who are attending the webinar today. So it's in the slides. If you've downloaded the handouts, there's a QR code on the screen if that's your style. There's also a link there at the bottom where you can learn more. But with that, Jill, I think I've wrapped up the slide content here.
That was awesome. Thank you, David. So if you all have not gotten that link, please, it's also in the chat of your on the right-hand side. So that's essentially kind of a free scorecard to see where you stack up, how you stack up, and some analysis around how your incrementality, frankly, could be improved. So thank you, David. I really appreciate that. He also made that available at our show 2 weeks ago at CommerceNext. So hopefully they'll be able to get to the thousands of people, I'm sure, who all want it. All right, we're going to do some polls. Firstly, we're going to do 2 polls that pertain to this webinar, and then one for a webinar in a few weeks. So the first question, and this is nothing hard, so please participate. What is your favorite loyalty program to shop as a customer? Took a mini poll of some of our CommerceNext staff. There were about 8 of us who weighed in, so pretty small focus group. But I would love to see what your other ideas are. This is helpful in 2 ways. One, for us, just always helpful to know who to look to for kind of benchmarks at CommerceNext. What programs can we keep up with that maybe aren't in the media now and again? And also, it's helpful for these retailers who are, if you're on there today, please let us know, how you think these guys are doing. So, Alan, if you'd pop up this poll, I'd love to read through just the answers. So A, Crate and Barrel. B is Lowe's. C is Nordstrom. D, REI Co-op, same one loyalty program. E, Sephora, that one gets talked about quite a bit. F, Starbucks, also gets talked about a lot. G, Target, or H, other. And I would love if you all would type in some to the chat. I'm going to look at my other screen here to see if anyone is typing in any other programs. So please let us know what your favorite loyalty program is to shop as a customer, not that you work there, but as a customer. All right, it looks like Sephora is the leader at just shy of 40% as a favorite. Then we have next up, REI and Starbucks are tied. Target is a close third. And then we have a lot of others, let's say Aveda, Hilton. Ooh, I know, I'm a Marriott girl. I love that one. Costco, phenomenal. CVS. Yeah, if you can fit the receipt back in your car when you're done, it's a perfect program for you. So long. Excellent. All right, I'm going to jump to the next poll now. So if you have been contemplating a change to your loyalty program where you work, which is presumably why you're on this webinar today, what has been holding you back from making this change? Select up to 2 answers if you would like. You can select one as well. A, you don't know if your current program is working and you're unsure how to assess its performance. B, you are worried about customer friction or dissatisfaction with a change. We all know how people feel about change sometimes. C, it can seem like a heavy resource lift to make a change to the program. D, it is on your roadmap, but it's a lower priority than something else. E, your current program delivers a strong ROI, and so you are not contemplating change. And if that's the case, David probably still wants to talk to you. F and A, you're not a brand. Perhaps you're, a tech partner or, somebody who doesn't have a program right now. Or G, other. So for other, please type that into the chat. But again, what are kind of the, restrictions or issues holding you back from making a change? All right, it looks like result-wise, we have D being, just leaning over. Yep, so it's on our roadmap, but a lower priority. That's about 30% of the audience. And NA, you're not a brand. That's about 25%, and very split between, it seems like a heavy resource lift. You do not know if the current program's working, or you're worried about customer friction. Very interesting. Let's just see if anything's in the chat. Don't see any other reasons in the chat, but very interesting. Thank you. So we're going to talk to really A, B, and D about how it can bump up on your roadmap when we get to the retailer portion in just a minute. All right, final poll question in just one moment. This is helping out Alan and the team doing this webinar in 3 weeks. So if you don't mind doing another quick poll, here we go. Question 3. Which of the following concerns you for the 2024 upcoming holiday season? A, late deliveries by carriers and shippers, i.e. they might not get their orders on time. Supply chain issues, mostly inventory issues here, not so much, the longer term effects. C, labor shortages and fulfillment. You might not be able to essentially get the product in the hands because of labor shortage. Inflation, price increasing here. E, labor shortages in the stores, so potentially just not enough to service the customers walking in your doors. Or F, consumer spending levels are down on gifts and holiday products, and that's really what you're fearing and what concerns you coming up. So again, this is for this upcoming holiday season. All right, it looks like, wow, F, consumer spending levels are down on gifts and holiday products. That is 50% of you all here. The only one close to that is supply chain issues, so inventory issues. So that is going to be very, very helpful for both Alan, Sucharita, and that team to focus on in 3 weeks, July 17th. All right, so if you haven't registered for that, the link will be in your chat. Okay, the much awaited retail panel. I will pull down my slides. Rob, if you can pull on the panel for us. Thank you so much. Excellent. Hi. I told you 30 minutes and it's 30 minutes exactly. What? I'm going to buy a lottery ticket tonight. That was excellent. Thank you guys. That was really, really helpful, David, to hear all of this. So we'll get some questions going from the audience. But before we start, if you don't mind kind of going around the room, virtual room, where you work, what your loyalty program looks like, and potentially even at past places where you've worked, what that looks like. So Sarah, I'll start with you. Where are you now and where have you been?
Sure. Hi, Jill. Yeah, I'm very impressed by the 30-minute mark. And I have to say, my biggest concern about holiday 2024 is that this is the year that we have the fewest number of days between Thanksgiving and Christmas that is possible.
Right.
So that compressed selling season plus an election creates a lot of uncertainty. My name is Sarah Wallis. I am the Chief Operating Officer at Minted. Minted is a design marketplace. We democratize access to design and art for customers. And for those designers and artists, we democratize access to customers for their designs and art. Our biggest categories and products that we sell are holiday cards, invitations, and artwork. That's what we're best known for, although we do have some other products as well. And at Minted, we have a loyalty program, which is called Minted More, and it is a pay to participate. For $36, you are enrolled and you receive a Minted More box, which is something new each year, filled with lots of minted goodies. And then there's also discounts throughout the year as well. And then, Jill, you also asked us to mention other places we've worked at. I think one place I've worked at that has a very strong loyalty program and complex, and that has been going through a lot of changes, is Gap Inc. And so I'm hoping to pull a little bit from my time there as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Sarah. Allison, over to you.
Thanks, Jill. Allison McGuire. I'm at Mart, the VP of Marketing there. And I've been there 9 years, and we've had 2 different iterations of a loyalty program since I've been with the company. Initially, we had more of a rebate program where it was quarterly, and based on your spend, you got a coupon discount. And, the more that we looked at the program and how it was performing, it didn't seem inclusive enough for everyone. It was just, if you didn't spend a lot with us, then you didn't get any benefit. So what we converted to was a rewards program based on actions as well as purchases. And that's been really successful for us. It's been running for about 3 years.
Love that. And we'll get into some of those triggers of what triggers it. And they're really, really interesting and unique, similar to what kind of David was talking through. David, anything to add before we jump into some of the questions? And I see, you took yourself off mute. You're so good.
No, I think hopefully folks know who I am. Hopefully you listened to the first part. But.
And if not, go back and do it. All right. So firstly, let's start out kind of just talking about the key elements of a loyalty strategy. How does the strategy differentiate or differ from a program? And how do you kind of think about it at your company? I'll start with Sarah. Really, how does the strategy and the program, what do you start with when you kind of think through those?
Yeah, well, so I mean, I think that's the question of why is this chief operating officer on why is a chief operating officer on a webinar about loyalty? And I think that's the answer to, sort of a holistic program and strategy, which is that, fundamentally, your loyalty program can be incredibly well optimized, as thoughtful and as powerful as possible. But at its core, if you're not delivering for your customers the experiences and products that they want when they want it, it doesn't matter how good your loyalty program is, you're not going to be able to retain those customers. And so from my perspective, the holistic view of your loyalty program needs to include that kind of starting point, which is just how do you get them even to that point of wanting to be a loyal customer and delivering those experiences for them.
It's true. I mean, how many times have you stood at a cash wrap and they say, "Are you a member of our loyalty program?" You're like, "I don't know. Here's my phone number. Here's my email. Let's see." If you're not aware of it, it's not a loyalty program or strategy, right? It's to David's point, it's a discount program. It's something you're giving away just to, have the PII. And there's reasons for that, but it's a really interesting.
Or how many times have you had a negative experience and been asked to join a loyalty program and you're like, "Hey, before you ask me to join your loyalty program, can you please just fix things for me?"
Fix things, get an order right. It is true. And how they handle it. If you're I think I wrote down the MVC for Kohl's, the most valuable customer. How do they handle those types of, whether it's returns or bad experience versus if you're just, Jill off the street? How does that look, and should it be different? And that's kind of getting to the brand strategy of it.
And I think strategically also, strategically also just thinking through how, loyalty is not a loyalty program. Loyalty is actually getting a customer to a place where they are so emotionally engaged with you that they're willing to forgive you for making a mistake. And so I think about loyalty as not just how do you drive spend, but strategically, how do you engender loyalty above and beyond your program?
I like that. David, I know we had talked something about PDX leather goods on our prep call. Do you want to jump in about that?
Yeah, and I think it actually builds on what Sarah's describing in terms of creating an emotional connection with the brand. We're launching a program soon with a brand called Portland Leather Goods. I don't know if Scott's on the call, but if he is, shout out to Scott. They have an incredibly fervent fan base. They have, Facebook groups with hundreds of thousands of people. And I think it speaks to where we find Tandym works really well is where a brand has built that emotional connection with customers. And so there's not a loyalty program out there that you can launch that will create that for you. That has to come from the brand messaging, the products, the experience you deliver. So I think it really just builds on Sarah's point in terms of what are the ingredients required to actually win with loyalty? You've got to start with just an awesome brand.
I want to jump in. So Matt Gehring, who couldn't be here last minute, he's the Chief Marketing Officer at Dutch, but prior to being there, he was CMO at Rothy's. I don't know if the audience is familiar with Rothy's shoes, but very similar to what David's mentioning about PDX leather goods, hundreds of thousands of members on, Facebook and all Reddit, and trying to get, the early release, trying to get the release that there's only 200 of, the archives, trading. It's unbelievable. Some people, and believe it or not, there's people on there who just sell right shoes for, people who, have one limb and don't need the other. And there's this incredible just stories and people talking about, thank you, you made my daughter's birthday. And just, it becomes this really emotional brand that people then pass down to their kids. And it created this community, and it was all the customers doing it on their own. Lily Pulitzer is a very, very similar kind of fan base that they build up these events on their own. And then now, the corporations are like, all right, well, let's do this together. So it's a lovely symbiotic kind of relationship. But if you don't have that passion and that fervor, perhaps we can talk about maybe how do we create that? I don't know, Allison, do you have anything to add here about the program and the strategy at
Yeah, we're a 103-year-old family business. So we do have very loyal customers that have been with us for generations within their family business of themselves. So we had a very loyal following to start with, which made for a very, great opportunity to build a loyalty program. But the biggest thing for us was to make sure it included things that would be valuable to our customers. So we surveyed our customers up front. We asked them, what types of things would you like in a loyalty program, and what are your favorite loyalty programs, similar to the poll we just did, and asking them what would be beneficial, and getting that feedback was really instrumental in us creating the program that we have today.
Nice. Well, that's a perfect segue into the next question. So how did you personalize your loyalty program? Since you actually asked your customers, what did they say and what kind of actions did you guys take about that?
Yeah, so our previous loyalty program was not that inclusive. So I wasn't able to provide any benefits to customers that bought small quantities and dollars with us. So one way to get around that, to be more inclusive, was to create a rewards program based on lots of different actions. So we now offer points for writing a product review or for joining our SMS program, updating your preferences, giving us your birthday, all these different things, hashtagging us on social media, following us on social media, referring a friend. So lots of opportunities to get points that you can redeem for coupons, which keeps them more interactive with the brand and gives us more visibility on social when they're calling us out. It's just very valuable actions that help us with the program. So it's worked really well for us.
That's amazing. All right, I'm going to jump in. So we have cool ideas of what to do, right? We all can think of, you sit in a room and you blue sky. What does this loyalty program look like? But behind that, obviously technology resources are really required to kind of implement, sustain data analysis. What tools have you all used? How has this been organized? Where does it live in the organization? Kind of peel back how people would really not necessarily get started, but where should this live? Is it just in marketing? Is it in marketing and finance? How does this live? I don't know, David, if you want to start. I know you see hundreds and hundreds of clients and potential customers. Where do you normally see that it's successful, and where have you seen it maybe fall flat?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I can sort of like bifurcate my answer. My time at Capital One, where we were running programs for really big retailers, oftentimes they would have teams of tens of people, like real labor behind this at the brand. And so, it's a big investment from a resource perspective. Obviously, there's a technology piece as well with some of the legacy players. Typically, it would live in a marketing organization, but one of the things we like to say at Tandym is finally a solution that both the CMO and the CFO can love, because obviously there's the processing cost savings that comes with it. One of the things I'm really proud of that we've done at Tandym, though, is we've thought really deeply about the merchant experience of what it takes to both start one of these programs and then maintain it go forward. And we built the product that I wished I had at Capital One. Everything is a dashboard. It's all productized. Frankly, I have brands call Mike on my team when they have an issue. It's not a people investment necessarily. It's more of a strategic investment, if that makes sense. And with our plugins, we typically install on a brand's website in a matter of a few hours. So very different in terms of the legacy version. I will say there needs to be strategic buy-in, and there needs to be the desire to want to market the program, et cetera. But it's a little bit of a different construct given what I used to see with some of the big retailers. But Sarah, I know you've had a bunch of experience in prior roles as well, so I'm curious how that lines up with your past experience.
Yeah, I think when I think about where loyalty programs sit, a lot of times it depends a lot on whether the loyalty program incorporates a private label credit card or not. In general, the private label credit cards are highly financially oriented. It's very much a calculation. There's sort of formulas about how much do you want to give in terms of rewards for other areas. There's the drop to the bottom line for spend in other places besides your own company. So that often lives within the finance world. A loyalty program that is more focused on incremental experiences, you don't have to apply or have the credit card. That is often sits more within the marketing world, because it is a little bit more around sort of customer retention and tends to look at more of the customer retention types of metrics and KPIs. And then finally, there's the sort of NPS, Net Promoter Score component, which often sits in either in marketing or often in product or in operations at Minted. NPS sits within our world. So that's a really rambling non-answer for where should it live. But I think, each organization, if you sort of think about your loyalty program and it's 80% based on your credit card and there's a little bit of extra stuff here and there, probably finance is not a bad place for it. If you don't have a PLCC, it probably does sit more in the kind of marketing and or operations world. So it like so many things in the retail world, the answer to where should it sit is it depends.
And I think it's super important to get the buy-in from your call center if you have one, and that whole customer support team, because they're the ones that are on the phones or chatting with customers that need to be advocates for the program. And if if they're asking a question or they're unhappy about the shipping cost or they want a discount, if your call center can say, hey, let me look at your account, you have enough rewards points to cover the cost of your shipping. Or just, have you joined our program? And do you know about our program? And making sure they're opting in. It's really important to have that buy-in across the organization.
That is a great point about the call center. I mean, how many, I don't know if you see all the people in, travel industry now, it's, all of these quick, well, if you send this email and your bag is 20 minutes late, you get this many points back immediately. Like, people are essentially timing it and hoping it is a few minutes late now to get extra points. So like, it really can build, beyond the loyalty to the brand, it builds this expectation and this experience with your support staff. So if they're not involved, it's going to be a huge, huge problem. Mm-hmm. Well, we have a few customer questions popping in, so I'm going to go to those and then kind of wait on ours for a minute. This question is from Elizabeth Marin. She was at Hannah Anderson, and she works on their loyalty program. Hannah, your products are amazing. Love your products. Can you discuss more about the difference between driving a truly impactful loyalty program versus a discount program? And how does it look activating and influencing customers without a discount? So taking, the promotional price piece out, taking one of the peas out of the pie, then what are you left with and how are you activating those customers? I'll open it to whomever would love to answer.
I think I'll jump in. Yeah, okay. I think it's important to offer benefits too. So if you can't offer a discount all the time, we offer things like early access to sales or, access to hearing about our new items before other people, getting, surprise and delight like offers, but they could be, free gift with purchase. They could be a variety of different things. So I think come up with what is possible to do within your brand and think what would be beneficial to the customer. It always goes back to what's good for the customer, right?
What do they want?
Yeah, I'll add, I completely agree. And I'd layer on that this sort of comes back to like the more marketing mindset of these programs, which is really focused in on the customer and what the customer wants. At Bare Essentials, we had a really, really engaged customer base who was just so excited that for them, the benefit of being at a tier was that we would, the day before or the evening before a new product sort of line came out, we would actually close the store an hour early, and it was sort of an invitation only. Oh. And so you could get it in the store ahead of time. At Athleta, we started doing early access through the app for new product launches. And so you could actually get the product to you around the same time that it was showing up in stores, but with the convenience of being able to shop online. So really just, again, it, as Allison said, it comes back to the customer and thinking creatively about how you meet those emotional needs in addition to the financial needs.
Yeah, I think value too oftentimes gets described as just points or dollars back, when in reality, the way as we as customers think about value, I think it's a package. And, just thinking about like this notion of building community, it turns out like the folks who are going to adopt a strong loyalty program and who are going to engage with it, they want to tell you like, hey, like this is the type of product I want to see next, not this one. Or like, here are the 5 prints for, there's a lot of Hannah Anderson in my house, by the way, like cool prints, right? And hey, like here are the 5 prints we're thinking about for the summer swimsuit, baby swimsuit line. Like, what do you guys think? Like, those are the sorts of things that create connection with the brands, and give customers a sense that their voice is important, that it's valued. And I think it's a great way to drive that engagement, and it doesn't require % back or points back.
Right. Previous to my CommerceNext world, I got to sit in e-commerce at National Geographic, and we did a very similar thing where some were our most loyal customers and others were just kind of picked off of, the email list, and asked them questions about product launches, colors, waves of, what should this be woven in, what materials. And, we were working with kind of, hand makers and artisans. And it was incredibly impactful because not only were they helping the product development process that we were going to be doing anyway, they were also then so involved in the purchasing, in the reviews, and the products going more viral because they felt like they had a hand in it. So it really created this nice little flywheel that truly I don't think we had thought through how powerful it could be, but it was really wonderful.
Go ahead and take credit for being that.
I mean, it was all me. So I'm going to jump over to a question from Robert Krantz. He's a CFO. Thank you for being here. A Beauty Plus Salon. Thinks it's a great session. But similar question for Allison, and David, you might be able to answer this as well. How are you able to track and attribute those customer actions, social likes, and how do you tie it into points earned? Do you use a specific tech product? Is it more manual? How do you guys do that?
Yeah, we definitely have a partner. We couldn't do this ourselves. We work with Annex Cloud, and they track all of the actions within their dashboard, and we have access to reports by all of those actions. So we can see what people are using, what are most popular, if we want to stop using one or change one or offer more points to make it more of an incentive. So that's how we're currently doing it.
Interesting. David, I don't know if you might have other ideas there as well.
No, there's definitely software solutions out there that can do that. Tandym, we do have some of that built into our platform. So I think I mentioned this during the earlier portion, but we integrate with all of the tender neutral providers out there. Some of those like Yapo, they have that capability. We also have some of that capability native to our platform as well.
I love that. I love when everyone just talks about how they're doing it because none of us, we can't do any of this by ourselves. All right, I'm going to jump back to one of our questions and then go back. I'm just going to keep bouncing around. So we've talked a little about short-term and long-term in terms of payments and things like that. What pitfalls or what issues have you seen come up in some of these programs that you'd love to give advice on, kind of how to avoid it? I gave the National Geographic example. We had the positive kind of payout. Things went viral, and people were really vested in those products. But what types of issues have you seen when trying to roll out some loyalty pieces of these programs? Could really be any piece of it. And I'll let anyone start with that.
Go ahead, Allison.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of expressed how we started with the rebate program. It didn't really resonate. But we also, with our Refer a Friend program that we launched, we didn't offer enough points. It just wasn't enough of an incentive. And we know that outside of, our paid advertising, word of mouth is really a big referral program for us already. So to incentivize more people to use it, we just upped our points for referring and then also for the referrer, just so everybody benefits from it. And then we limit it to twice a month so they can keep coming back and doing it more frequently. But we put a cap on it so they don't go too crazy first and abuse the program.
Right.
But yeah, I think that tracking what's working and what's not and modifying and iterating as you go along is super important.
Important. David, do you have any pitfalls?
Yeah. I mean, I'd say something similar to what Allison said, which is you have to take a full swing. It's important to think about it as an investment and not a transaction. And what I mean by that is if you just did the math on, if I'm giving points back on this particular transaction in the form of rewards, like, will I see the return on that transaction? And the chances are you might not on that first transaction or even the second. But what you're building is customer lifetime value. You're building that emotional connection to the brand. And so I'd encourage brands who are thinking about this to really think about it, again, as that investment. Take a full swing and put a program out there that you think will resonate. And again, value can be a lot of different things, but it needs to be valuable to the customer at the end of the day.
I like that. All right, we have 4 minutes left. So I'm going to end with what is not the most rapid of rapid fires, but rapid-ish, a quick fire. So given the time of year, and thank you, Sarah, for bringing the Q4 in kind of in the intro, given the fact that everybody's thinking about holiday already, are there any concrete examples that you could each give of what somebody could do now to really impact that Q4 program? And I'm going to start and pretend that I'm Matt Gehring, the CMO of Dutch. Matt's point was not only put it everywhere, put the messaging everywhere, but start testing it now. So you know what messages will resonate then. So you're not doing the testing in Q4. You're really, you can still be optimizing it, but putting it everywhere, telling everyone about it, and then testing what that language really looks like. And maybe it's different for different customers, but that was his point. So who wants to go and do their Q4 tip next?
I'll do mine. Mine is to start putting value in customers' hands now. And, don't wait until Q4 to run promotions and make offers. You can start getting value into their hands, offer bounce backs, spend $50 with us now and we'll give you an opportunity. We'll give you $10 off coupon. That gets people, those bounce backs are great because customers count them twice in their heads. They think of the $10 against the current order that they're placing in order to get the $10 value. And then they also use it again in their heads when they redeem it. And now is the time to start getting that into their hands in order to drive the Q4 volume.
Love that. Allison, what would your tip be?
Yeah, I think trying to get as many people into the program right now is the most important thing so that they can then get the benefits in Q4 when they're going to come back and shop with you. So we, starting in Q3, late in Q3, we'll start to promote, be sure to join our loyalty program so that you can, get early access to Cyber Monday promotions or, get double the rewards during the holiday season. So acquiring as many people right now so that you're in a good position for Q4 and they're in a good position for Q4 to reap the benefits of the rewards. I think that's really important right now.
David, do you have any tips to take us to the end of the hour with?
Yeah, I know we're at time here, so I'll make it pretty quick. But look, I'm giving away free customer segmentation analysis.
You have to be loyal to Tandym.
Well, look, I'm making an offer, and I'd love for people to take me up on it because if you don't have an in-depth understanding of your customer file, it's a great place to start, and it can help inform some of the strategies that Sarah and Allison just talked about. You don't even have to purchase Tandym, although we think you should. But we'd love to help brands just understand who their customers are a little bit better. It's a great first step.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. Well, thank you all. I'm sorry we couldn't get to all the questions. I know there were a lot more in the queue, but I'm sure David is happy to answer them afterwards, and perhaps Sarah and Allison would connect on LinkedIn with you. But thank you all for being here so much. Really appreciate your time, and please come back in 3 weeks and enjoy the actual holiday forecast from Sucharita, Alan, and the rest of the crew. Thank you all for being here, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, everybody.